I have no idea what is happening to me right now because my body is beginning to act weird. Last night after I left the restaurant, I spent the whole night doing research about humans with scales, and I got ridiculous answers like monsters, and mermaids and mermen with some ridiculous answers as well. I was restless as I was wondering why the scales just vanished when Nicole called me, because I am very sure that they were on my arms. How can she see the scars? I asked Jeffrey if there was a scar on my neck, but he said it was perfectly fine, and that there's not even a scratch, but that girl did see it. How? The most unbelievable thing that happened this morning was that I found myself in the bathtub when I woke up this morning. My legs were glued together, not with a substance, but then the skin on both legs had overlapped, and it was like my flesh was glued. It got me really terrified by the sight of it, and when I tried to part them, I felt this stinging pain as my flesh tore apart and I groaned in pain. The very moment I was able to set my legs loose, I wore my pants and a sweatshirt, then headed for the living room. Taking my car key from the table, I called my grandfather and asked him not to go to sea because I was coming home.
Welcome home, son. My little grandson has grown into a really tall and handsome young man. You look dazzling.
Grandpa said and hugged me. You didn't change a bit, Grandpa. How long has it been?
Oh, 4 months?
He said with a chuckle, and I laughed. 4 months is a really long time when it comes to us. How is business around here?
We can barely catch any fish these days. It's more like the sea god is mad at us.
Do you still believe in that myth?
It's not a myth, son. I know what I have seen with my very eyes,
he said as he led the way to his porch. I sat down and he sat opposite me.
So what got you calling me and bringing you here?
He asked and I sighed. I was silent for a long time. He cleared his throat, showing he was waiting for my response.
Is it something that's very complicated and unimaginable?
He asked, and I sat upright. I know this might sound weird to you and I can't bring myself together to believe it. But then I've been having these strange transformation on my body, and just today, it wasn't just the neck but my legs were glued together with my flesh. It's like I am transforming into a creature I don't even know of. I explained, and he shook his head sideways.
I think it's time.
Time? Time for what?
It's time to tell you who your father is. Come with me,
he replied, standing up to his feet. I watched him as he took a seashell from his table of artifacts and walked to the door.
Follow me,
He said to me, and I didn't hesitate to follow him. We walked until we were far from the village, and we climbed a hill. He led the way without stopping for breath or water. He halted at the edge of the hill, and below him was the sea, the endless sea. Grandpa, what are we doing here? I asked him.
Son, I wasn't able to tell you the truth about your father because your mother made me promise to do so until you were ready. From the look of things, the strange changes in your body is a sign that you need to know everything.
What are you talking about?
Your mother had an affair with a young man who visited our village. He was an eye candy. Every woman and young lady had their eyes on him except your mother, who cared less. But then, he was only interested in your mother, and his interest grew higher and beyond understanding as he was even willing to die for your mother. He places his life on the line countless times to save your mother. It took him a long time before your mother reciprocated the feeling. Out of their love for each other, you were born, but then after your birth, he vanished without leaving a trace, but just this shell.
He explained, and I was totally lost. I was so lost.
So technically my father was a mysterious man who vanished the very day I was born? I asked him, and he shook his head. He turned towards the sea, tilted his head backwards, and blew air into the seashell, which miraculously brought out a rhyming sound which echoed so loud.
Your father is the king of the ocean, the son of the sea god.
You mean to tell me my mother just opened up her legs for any creature to crawl in for pleasure?
Calm down, Adrian. You can't speak such way about your mother.
Don't ask me to calm down, Grandpa. You have no idea how painful it is seeing these grow on my skin. Now you tell me I can't swim when I'm one of the best swimmers just because I might turn into a fish or something? I'm too old for these folk tales. Mermaids and mermen are just bullshit people made up for kids. I have a life, and I won't give that up for anything. Do you expect me to leave my business behind and go and leave somewhere in the ocean? I'm out of here.
Adrian!
I turned to leave when a heavy wind hit me, causing me to fall to the ground right beneath my grandfather's feet. I looked up only to see the tides overlapping against each other vigorously, Thunder began to strike and hitting the tip of the waves, as the waves grew higher and the thunderstorms getting louder. My grandfather helped me up, and as I stand to my feel, the sea rose to the level of the hill in a form of a whirlwind, and from it came a masculine, huge man. From his waist downwards was the sea whirling around his waist, and when I looked up, he looked just like me. "What the?"